Hello friends, today we are reading from Śrī Kṛṣṇa with the commentaries by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. That's the cover. So we have a question sometimes about the scientific base of Vedas. And nowadays, any theory is considered to be a part of science, scientific approach. Something that you make out of your logic, you consider to be scientific. But from the point of view of Vedas, even the theories are not considered to be scientific. And the only experience of happiness is something real, and you walk this path and you feel happiness. That's the only proof. The knowledge can be differentiated by its depth. If you don't go deeper in your knowledge and your happiness doesn't grow, then it's ignorance. We cannot see the essence, the source of this life. That's why we have so many theories of denial, or some argues regarding this life. But the scriptures are saying that there is no need in any kind of argument with no proofs. So when we are talking about something beyond, there is no need to argue or discuss these topics. We cannot really discuss the size of the universe. There are some theories, but we cannot state it as a fact. But Shastras, they give us these statements that are beyond our perception. Can we answer this question? No. Can we accept it? No. Coming from logic point of view or our own understanding, we cannot. So what do we do when we deal with the apaurushaya, the superhuman happenings? In this case, we just deal or rely on Shruti. This approach, we rely on someone who knows. We need to accept this superhuman existence. If we think that human life is the highest, then there is no need to listen to anyone except human, because he is imperfect. If we accept the superhuman powers, and the nature is running under certain laws, we get all the knowledge from nature, and we know that there's some kind of intelligence that is being manifested through the laws of nature. We also need to accept these superhuman events. From a point of view of a human being, everything he perceives is imperfect because his senses are imperfect. And we need to understand that we add a lot of faults into our speculations. So the Vedas are saying that we need to learn from God, from the God. And here we have a problem because it's a psychological problem, really. We think that this super intelligence cannot speak or see. He's deaf and blind and can talk to you. But Śrī Kṛṣṇa is saying there is everything there. There is a form, there is feelings. Om Purnam means it's full. Everything we can see and cannot perceive. And from this fullness, everything else is coming out. Om Purnam, Adah Purnam, Idam Purnam. This is where it's all starting. And then there is a process of not only our efforts that is going up, but it's also a descending process. When we receive the answers, and if we pay attention, all the holy scriptures are shrutis, something that you hear, like prophecy, Muhammad, he could hear it, and many, many times he could hear, and that was the basis for Holy Quran. And then Moses, he heard the voice of God, and that's all called shrutis, the laws of Vedas. And then shrutis are being supported by nyaya, the logic. Logic is also a part of science. It's not the main thing, but we should know it. Some paradoxical things are logical, actually. The truth, absolute truth, is paradoxal. It's also present in the heart of rascal and a decent man, in the heart of ant and a huge animal like elephant. At the same time, it has its independence. So, the absolute truth is an independent, living being, and it's an absolute law, the main law for everything and everyone. We live in it, and it is being reflected in everything, in our habits and space and time, and everything is being included in the personality of Godhead. This is what Isopanishad is talking about, and Isha means someone in control, who is very intelligent, and we're gonna continue today. We've went through 11 mantras. Mantra is something that gives liberation to the mind, and we're gonna read from mantra 12 today. I will not read Sanskrit. Oh, actually, I can see it today, so I will read it.
Pravishanti yasambhūtim upasate tato bhuyāivate tamo ya usambhutyam bhutyamarata. Те, кто поклоняется полубогам, попадут в темнейшие области невежества. Но еще в большей степени это относится к тем, кто поклоняется безличному абсолюту. Еще один парадоксальный текст, уже так аналогичный был, вы помните, да, что те, кто культирует невежество, попадают в темные районы невежества, те, кто культирует так называемое знание, падают еще ниже. Это был в предыдущих текстах, мы встречали аналогичный текст, парадоксальный. То есть те, кто под видом знания культирует невежество, падают еще ниже. И комментарий это хорошо объяснял, как это происходит. И те, кто поклоняется полубогам, здесь говорится, попадут в темнейшие области невежества.
It is said that those who are under control of demigods,
поклоняются безличному абсолюту. Уникальные тексты.
These texts are unique, and we can see that other topics of Vedas give us the opposite things. they're talking about liberation, the mukti, or sayuja mukti, when you are getting into this light of the absolute, when you merge into it, aham brahmasmi, I'm eternal, and it feels the happiness and bliss, no fears whatsoever, no birth and death, and at the same time no variety. For those who have developed this relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's just like to get into hell, or even worse, because you can get out of hell and address the Lord, but from the absolute existence, absolute light, you cannot get out of there. The only thing you get after an eternity, you would feel like leaving the place. The soul will leave the place. After all these efforts and everything, the soul leaves because it has the tendency to be eternal. It's a part of eternity, and it's not its natural environment to be there. And the Bhagavad-gītā is saying that there are three forms of worshipping the Lord, including transcendental. There are four, but the three modes of nature define these three. And the lowest one is when people are worshipping the spirits, and those who've been deceased before, like they build in some graves and tombs. And this is where you deal with the black magic, and you worship these black spirits. It's pretty developed in some parts of the world. Spiritualism, the shamans, sometimes they heal you, sometimes they kill you, sometimes they can see the future, but sometimes those spirits, they might not know everything. They know more because they're in these fine bodies. And this is the form of worshipping, in order to get some siddhas. People do it. In the mode of passion, people are worshipping to those who are in control, and those who are powerful in this world. They are more materialistic oriented because they want these fruits of their activities to get some material gain, and they forget about this fine life that is invisible. And they want to get some power and money and fame, and this is how they get to the place they want. They get close to this high goal in their life. And they also worship some scientists, to those who know a lot, some award-winning winners, and it can have some philosophical or social basis, and they just take those leaders, they learn the quotes from them, they quote them, they make the festivals, they put there's portraits of those leaders, and so it's like godless activity. And then there is the highest level, is the mode of goodness. The level of worshipping is defined the worshiping to demigods. And those who worship demigods, they can get flourishment of nature, not through some development of machinery or plants or anything. They just worship certain demigods, let's say demigod of Vayu, the demigod of wind, or there's goddess Bhumi, who is in control of the earth, or you can address Agni, the demigod of fire, who is in control of all that, and we have so many gadgets and inventions that use fire nowadays. So the idea behind it is that without addressing the demigod of a certain element, you can't really be in control of those processes. And but there are no instructions in Vedas whatsoever to build or to make these things. It was made by humans, but as a result, we have pollution. When a person, when a human being is intruding some natural processes without the intelligence, without mind and ego, it's just turning our world into GMO state. When we have artificial products, ancient people, those sages, they knew this principle, so they did not intrude into these things. They didn't look for nuclear power, to destroy the whole world, and this is the only purpose of that power. You cannot really control it. Any nuclear power plants are very dangerous. Even when they are not, even when they are working properly, it's still dangerous. So this nuclear power should not be used in a peaceful usage, because we cannot really control it. Now we think we can, but it's a huge illusion. That's why the Vedas are saying that if you want to flourish, your material life to flourish, then you need to worship the demigods of the certain elements. They're not gods, they're God, but they're like the parts of the God's body. There are 33 million of demigods, and they all worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are all His devotees. On their own level, of course, but they're connected with the material desires still. They're not pure 100%. But when you try to compare demigod and the God, sometimes a human being can be confused and think that he is the one. Like the Brahma, he is the secondary creator. He is not the God. He gets all the knowledge and power from the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. to create the whole
вне
universe and
пространства и
everything.
времени, вне наших вообще понятий жизни.
And the Lord works,
Это описано также в
He's
Пуранах. Всем знанию, что такое духовный мир.
situated
Также
beyond
Бхагавад
this
Гītā
material
до некоторой степени раскрывает
universe.
нам вот это окно в духовный мир, что же там происходит.
And Vedas are opening us the window
Поэтому
to
здесь
the
говорится, что
spiritual
те, кто
world.
поклоняются полубогам,
So it is said that those
падут в темнейшую область
who are engaged
невежества,
in the
что
worship
имеется в
of
виду. В
demigods
итоге, куда
enter
человек идет, если
into the
поклоняется
darkest
полубогу?
region of
Я
ignorance,
тебе
and
брат,
still
я
more
тебе, я
so
тебе
do
брат.
the worshippers of the
Поднятие будьте
impersonal
я,
Absolute.
мать женой Пимам, это Бхагavad-гītā говорит.
And
Кому
Bhagavad-gītā is saying that
поклоняешься, туда приходишь.
the one you worship, that's where you
Рождаешься.
go. This is where you're gonna be born.
Через форму поклонения происходит
Through the form of
трансмиграция.
worshiping, there's a
Через
transmigration
определенную
of the
привязанность,
soul.
развить эту привязанность,
So
чтобы
first we
к
develop
месту,
this
да,
attachment
привязанность к тому
in order to
месту,
get to
тем
that place
личностям, к той
in the
атмосфере
future.
уже сейчас при жизни. Поклоняясь полубогу, конечно, вы
When you
развиваете
worship a
очень
demigod,
благостные качества,
you're developing some
которые вас
opulence,
связывают с этой личностью.
opulent qualities, some great qualities
Поклоняясь полубогу,
connected with that personality,
на их планеты.
and you
в рай,
will,
то есть.
this way you will get to those heavenly
Поклоняясь
planets.
полубогу, вы не совершаете злодеяний.
When you worship a demigod, you're not making
С
any
точки зрения этого мира вы выглядите святым человеком,
illegal
потому что
activity.
вы действуете ради блага.
You can be considered a saint here,
Должны быть, но в какой-то степени очень бескорыстно, альтруистичны.
and
Это поклонение полубогам.
you would be
Есть поклонение демонам, но
altruistic
это ниже,
and
мы
everything.
говорили. Там, наоборот, ради выгоды. Они вот
And
между собой
if
не
you're
ладят.
dealing with the mode of
Полубогам и
passion, then
демонам.
you're after this material gain, and you worship these demons,
На земле также такой конфликт существует.
and then
Кто-то
you
говорит,
get
надо
into this
ради блага
conflict.
людей жить, кто-то говорит, надо
And some people are saying like,
сам за себя. И это
we need
конфликт
to
называется.
serve
Две
the
природы
humanity,
конфликтуют.
and the others
И
would
вы
say we need
попадаете
to
на
serve
высшие
ourselves,
планеты в итоге,
our
если вы
senses.
так все удачно делаете, согласно Писанию.
If we worship the
Right.
demigods, we get to
Затем,
the
по
heavenly
прошествии
planets,
множества лет земных, множество лет, там долгая очень жизнь, и, конечно же,
and after
там
many
много
years
чувственных наслаждений, которые
of
вообразили
satisfaction and
сотни раз
living
наслаждаться
in paradise,
на райских планетах, высших планетах. И когда ваша
and you can
карма
enjoy there
благочестивая
so much more,
исчерпывается,
and
вы
when
падаете
your
снова на землю.
good karma is out, then you fall down to the earth
Чтобы снова начать работать упорно и
in order
тяжело,
to start working again.
трудиться,
It was just
искать
like
ради
your
блага людей,
vacation.
чтобы зарабатывать это благочестие, чтобы снова подняться на райскую планету.
And then you work hard to get
Труд любишь,
up there
кататься,
again.
саночки возить, вот такая вот
So
вещь.
it's just like that. Saying is saying
Поэтому это
you
называется область невежества, такое
like
мышление.
to ride,
Такое мышление является
you
тоже
need to
невежественным. И
get
те, кто
do
поклоняется,
something for it.
скажем, духом привидениям, он
And there are also
тратит
some
своих духов привидений,
who
вот,
worship
аналогично
these
этому
spirits,
развиваются такие отношения, такие привязанности, и таким образом, да, это, в
and
принципе, работает трансмиграция
they
души,
are
реинкарнация.
working out that attachment with them, and this way
Давайте
they are
почитаем
being
комментарий Шрила
born
Прабхупады.
among them. Let's read some
Санскритское
commentary
слово асамбхута
by Śrī Kṛṣṇa.
относится к
The
тем, кто
Sanskrit
не
word
является
asambhūti
независимым.
refers to those who have no independent existence.
Асамбхути. Вот тут два эти термина ключевые.
This is
Значит,
the key
асамбхути — это
term.
тот, кто не является
Asambhūti
независимым.
is the one who is not
Кто это? Да,
independent.
все мы с вами.
All of
Мы все
us.
зависим от чего-то всегда.
We're all dependent on something, right?
Самбхути
Sambhūti
же относится к
is the
абсолютной
absolute
личности Бога,
personality
которая
of
абсолютно
Godhead,
независима.
who is absolutely independent of
Асамбхути
everything.
и самбхути.
So there are Asambhūti and Sambhūti.
В Бхагавад-гите 10.2 абсолютная
In the
личность
Bhagavad-gītā
Бога, Шрī
10.2,
Кṛṣṇа говорит:
the Absolute Personality of Godhead, Śrī Kṛṣṇa, states,
Намя виду сурагана, прабхавам на махаршая, ахамадир хи деванам, махаршанам ча сарваша. Не сонмы полубогов,
neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know
ибо
my
я
origin or
первопричина всех
opulences,
полубогов.
for in every aspect I am the source of the demigods and sages. The first reason.
Вот это сложность, да, науки. Они не могут найти
That's the
первую
problem of the science. They cannot find this first
Первую
reason.
неизвестно. Это подобно тому, как
It's just like
сын не знает,
when the son, he
что было до
doesn't
его
know
рождения, естественно.
what was going on before he was born, and his father knows. Thus, Krishna is the origin of the powers delegated to demigods, great sages and mystics. Although they are endowed with the great powers, these powers are limited, and thus it is very difficult for them to know how Krishna himself appears by his own internal potency in the form of a man. So, any abilities or siddhas in this universe are limited. It's called asambhūti, dependent. And they have their nourishment. All the universe has its nourishment. It's like a mechanism. And we are tiny mechanisms. We know that without this source of energy, mechanisms of no use. If we are making a great mechanisms, then we need a lot of energy, like a spacecraft or some huge engines, in order to break the gravity and to get on the orbit. It takes a massive energy amount, and the earth is shaking and you burn so much fuel. And what to say about those travelings to the moon or somewhere else. So in order to move around or get some organization going, you need a lot of power. But the universe, if you pay attention to it, it is moving all the time. This colossal movement. Everything is in the move simultaneously. Where is the source of the power? And we can investigate here, or scientists, they can investigate and they say, oh, it's probably coming from here, from nuclear, it has the nuclear origin or somewhere. And when we try to get close to it, our our tissue of our bodies have been decomposed, so we cannot really deal with it. But actually there are some living entities, like the seaweed. There's a special seaweed that can grow into this nuclear constructions and stuff. So the life can be found anywhere, everywhere, even in your mind. Spirits can live. So the highest energy is the spirit. It is being stated by Vedas, and out of all this Supreme Spirit, everything emerged, and this is called asambhūti. This Supreme Spirit is called asambhūti, and he can make unlimited amount of whoever living entities. He is independent. And what is really confusing, when this wholeness, this absolute truth, can be appeared here in a human form. Many philosophers and great rishis or mystics try to distinguish the absolute form, the relative by their tiny brain power. This can only help them reach the negative conception of the absolute without realizing any positive trace of the absolute. Definition of the absolute by negation is not complete. Such negative definitions lead one to create a concept of one's own Thus one imagines that the Absolute must be formless and without qualities. Such negative qualities are simply the reversals of relative. Material qualities are therefore also relative. By conceiving the Absolute in this way, one can at the utmost reach the impersonal effulgence of God, known as Brahman, but one cannot make further progress to Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. So this denial of the Absolute by applying this approach, they try to reach the absolute truth. And everyone has some opinion, but there will be someone denying your opinion. Through the termination of a certain opinion, if I destroy all the false opinions, there will be truth. Because to me, all of those opinions would be inaccurate. In order to destroy someone's opinion, I get into this relationship. Through the denial, I state the truth. And this approach is being used in politics. Someone thinks that if I kill one, then I can have my truth. And same thing we do with in other fields of science, like I study chemistry or physics, and I take some particular object, and I have a theory, and I reject the rest. And Buddha was saying, like, we throw out something that we think we've learned about, and then we go for the next one. But when we are there, we deny our previous path. And this one is called Aroha, never-ending path. This way we will not get to any conclusion, because all these energies we've been studied and went through, they're all a part of the wholeness. They're all telling us about the God. So right now you can study how the clouds are being created. But then it appears to be that you don't know the real reason for it. Then you study some fields, some energetic fields that helps to elevate this water, this massive amount of water in the sky, and hold it there. So you deny one thing and you accept another one, but there would be always something else. And there is another approach. You can look at it and say, there is a will of the God behind this process. They think they can get to this knowledge through this process of denial. When you discriminate, you get to this to this knowledge, but it leads you to this competition and race differences, discrimination by race or nationality, and it's just the discrimination in order to get this partial knowledge. All of it is just ignorance. You cannot deny or get rid of something and accept another. Everything is like a part of wholeness. We need to learn about it. Who is the God? Who is the wholeness? And this way is a good approach to find a source of knowledge. Even the communists or capitalists, if they accept this source, that the Lord is the source of everything, they're gonna be friends. Meanwhile, communists are denying capitalists and vice versa, and they have these wars and everything, and this is called the darkest areas of ignorance. Such mental speculators do not know that the absolute personality of Godhead is Kṛṣṇa, that the impersonal Brahman is the glaring effulgence of his transcendental body, or the Paramatma, the Supersoul, is his all-pervading plenary representation, nor do they know that Krishna has his eternal form with its transcendental qualities of eternal bliss and knowledge. The dependent demigods and great sages imperfectly consider him to be a powerful demigod, and they consider the Brahman effulgence to be the absolute truth. But the devotees of Krishna, by dint of their surrendering unto him and their unalloyed devotion, can know that he is the absolute person and that everything emanates from him. Such devotees continuously render loving service unto Krishna, the fountainhead of everything. So we know that there are some demigods and demons, and there are some layers that below where they are not interested in any absolute truth. Some people just trying to collect the money, and they just getting married and go and work and go. They retire and then they die, and their life is just like that. They're just taking care of their families and nothing else. But this is the category that are trying to deal with this supreme power. We're talking about transcendentalists, the class of men who are thinking about these higher things. And it is being said that the personality of Godhead can be perceived only by, can be known only by his devotees. In the Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says that you can only understand him through love and devotion, devotional service. And we actually can see that any personality is being opened up through love and relationship. In the Bhagavad-gītā 7:20 and 23rd text, it is said that only unintelligent, bewildered persons driven by a strong desire for sense gratification worship the demigods for the temporary relief of temporary problems. Since the living being is materially entangled, he has to be relieved from material bondage entirely to attain permanent relief on the spiritual plane, where eternal bliss, life and knowledge exist. Śrī Kṛṣṇa therefore instructs that we should not seek temporary relief of our difficulties by worshipping the dependent demigods who can bestow only temporary benefit. Rather, we must worship the absolute personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is all attractive and who can bestow upon us complete freedom from material bondage by taking us back home, back to Godhead. So demigods, they are not making us immortal. They are all mortal. From our point of view, their life is very, very long, but from their point of view, it's not. Otherwise, they wouldn't be addicted to somaras. It's like a heavenly drug. It's making your life longer, and they're interested in making their life longer. But they know that their karma is limited. They understand it. They know the Vedas.
Поэтому что они делают?
So
Пускаются на
what they
различные
do,
хитрости.
they try to
Они очень разумны, конечно, не то что
cheat
человек.
because they're smart,
Они продлевают свою жизнь
not just
иллюзорно.
like human being. They are
Я
cheating
слышал об этом. Эту
this
амриту, напиток
and
полубогов,
they
не бессмертие, пьют.
prolong their life.
Несколько глотков они это делают, буквально чуть-чуть. эту амриту. Она хранится там, знаете как?
Illusion,
в
and
замке, чтобы
it's an
никакой
illusion
температуры не
that their
приблизился
life
к
is
этой
longer.
амрите.
So they take
Что
a
пока
couple
пьете
of
амриту, вас не
sips
убьют,
of that amrita,
вас не смогут убить.
and while you're
Если
doing
даже
it,
проткнут оружие,
no
там
one
что-то
can
еще,
really
то есть вам не смогут
do you any harm.
пока вы пьете амриту.
Even if
То
they
есть у вас будет
pierce you with
восстанавливаться
the
тело.
weapon or something, your
И
body
кроме
will
этого,
recover
у
so
вас измерение
quickly.
времени меняется,
And your
сознание.
time,
Вы можете за эти вот какие-то
perception of
минуты
time
прожить как будто бы миллионы лет.
is so much different. Like
Это
every minute
происходит в
would be
сознании.
like millions of years.
По
It's like
факту вы живете определенное
transformation
количество лет.
of your
Но под
consciousness.
влиянием амриты и других
It's a
энергий
fact. Your
небесных
life is
вы как
just
будто живете вечно. В такой иллюзии
few
попадаете.
decades
В этой иллюзии
long.
находится неуспокоение.
But in this illusion, you feel like you live
Вот такие вот вещи.
so
Есть
much
какие-то
longer.
подробности из Вед можно увидеть, как живут
So these
полубоги.
are the details we get
Они
from the
также между
Vedas
собой иногда ссорятся.
about the life of
У
demigods.
них есть
They get into
иерархия.
conflicts and fights
Индра
sometimes,
возглавляет их, он является царем полубогов.
and they have the
На нем
king,
великая
the
ответственность
czar
убивать демонов,
called Indra,
когда они нарушают
and he
законы
is
религии
responsible
Вселенной.
to kill the
Им приходится
demons
сражаться регулярно с демонами. То они их
on
побеждают,
a
то
regular
демоны их
basis.
побеждают.
They're
Так происходит.
getting into fight with the demons, and sometimes they win,
В
sometimes they
Бхагавад-гите
lose.
7.23 говорится, что те, кто поклоняются полубогам,
It is stated in the
смогут
Bhagavad-gītā
попасть на планеты этих
7:23
полубогов.
that the worshippers of the demigods can
Поклоняющиеся
go to the
Луне
planets of the
попадают на Луну,
demigods. The moon worshippers can
поклоняющиеся
go to the
Солнцу, на
moon,
Солнце и
the
так
sun
далее.
worshippers to the
Современные
sun,
ученые
etc.
пытаются достичь
Modern
Луны с помощью
scientists
ракет.
are now
Но на самом деле подобные
venturing
попытки делались
to the
и
moon
раньше.
with the help of the
Люди с
rockets.
их развитым
But this is
сознанием
not
от природы
really
склонны к
a new
космическим
attempt.
путешествиям.
With their advanced consciousness,
И
human
потому
beings are
стремятся
naturally
достичь других
inclined to
планет с
travel
помощью
in
космических
outer
кораблей
space and
или
to reach
мистических
other
сил,
planets,
или
either by
поклоняясь
spaceships,
полубогам,
mystic
управляющим той или
powers,
иной планетой.
or demigod
В ведических
worship.
писаниях сказано, что человек
In the
может достичь других
Vedic
планет с
scriptures, it
помощью
is said
любого
that
из
one
этих
can
трех
reach other
способов.
planets by any of
Но
these
самый
three
распространенный из
ways,
них
but the most
поклонение
common way is
управляющему
by
какой-либо
worshipping the
планетой
demigod
полубогу.
residing over the
Так
particular
можно достичь
planet.
Луны, Солнца
In
и
this
даже
way,
Брамалоки,
one can reach the
высшей
moon
планеты
planet, the
Вселенной.
sun planet, and
Однако
even
все планеты
Brahmlock,
материальной
the
Вселенной
topmost
являются
planet
лишь
in this
временным
universe.
прибежищем.
However, all planets in this
Вечные
material
только
universe are
парящие в духовном
temporary
небе Вайкунтха-локи,
residences.
на которых правит
The
сама
only
личность
permanent
Бога.
planets are the
В
Vaikuntha
Бхагавад-гите
loks.
8.16 Господь
These
Кришна
are found
подтверждает
in the
это
spiritual
словами:
sky, where the
«Абрама
personality
Пунара
of Godhead
Лока
Himself
Пунарава
predominates, as the
Арджуна,
Lord Krishna
Мама
states in the
Питья
Bhagavad-gītā
Лукам Тия
8:16.
Пунарбхана Видьяте». Все
From
планеты
the
материального
highest
мира,
planet in the material
от
world
высшей
down
до
to the
низшей,
lowest,
это
all
юдоль
are
страданий,
places of
и
misery,
каждый вынужден
wherein repeated birth
снова и
and
снова
death
рождаться,
take
умирать.
place.
Но тот, кто
But
достиг
one
моей
who
обители
attains
у
my
Сангунти,
adobe,
уже
or
никогда
son
не
of
родится
Kunti,
здесь.
never takes birth
Значит,
again.
есть тут несколько способов, как достичь других
So
планет,
there are three
перечисляются.
or several approaches to
Космические
attain
корабли
this.
раз,
You can do it through the
йога
spacecrafts,
два, это мистические силы.
starships, and then the mystic
И
powers,
поклонение полубогам,
or the
это тоже
demigod
называется
worship.
йога.
This is also called yoga, the karma yoga.
Карма-канда раздел.
It's
Значит, два
karma
получается,
kanda.
да, в целом способа.
So we have two ways:
Технические
the
приспособления, корабли
through the
космическим
technical
устроить. И
inventions,
второй способ
or
йоги
the second
это
one,
подготовить
the
свое
yoga.
тело для
You
жизни
can
на вашей планете.
prepare your body
Заметьте, что в космическом корабле вы не
to be
меняете
able to
тело.
live on other planets.
Поэтому вы
When
не
you are
можете
taking a
войти в атмосферу
spacecraft
той планеты, куда
travel,
вы прилетаете на космическом корабле.
you're not changing your body.
Например, на Луну вы не можете выйти
Like
без скафандра.
getting to the moon, you
Вы должны быть
cannot
в своей среде, биологической
be
среде.
there without a suit.
Там свой температурный режим у вас, но у нас, да, есть
You need to keep your
влажность,
own temperature and
воздуха,
moisture,
которым мы
the air,
много параметров.
a lot of
Сила тяготения
parameters,
также
the
определяет
gravity, and
как бы
everything.
физиологию,
So many things
её
define
функции.
our existence there, our life there. You need to have a certain food, like you will not be able to grow something on the moon. No fire. So we need to make some kind of atmosphere in there. I really doubt people were on the moon. But the Vedas are saying the moon is the source of the plants and weed. And there should be some living entities. And the moon is giving the juice to the vegetables. That's what written in Bhagavad-gītā. And it's full of lots of flora and fauna. So this moonlight is giving this juice to the vegetables and trees and everything. And it's flourishing with this. But at the same time, it is said that it's the source of heat and cold. And those organisms who inhabit the moon, they live, their bodies are different. Our bodies are made of water mostly. The sun power is inconceivable for us. And we deny it. We say, like, there is no life on the sun or moon. But the Vedas are saying it's sarvagatam, that life is everywhere. The sun, the moon, the Jupiter and Mars, and everywhere in the space there is life. But we cannot perceive it, and we don't have any knowledge about it. So the Bhagavad-gītā is saying that it doesn't matter where you go, to the highest or the lowest planets of this universe, it's a place of misery. Everywhere there is birth and sickness and death. And Krishna is saying that, O son of Kunti, if one is reaching my abode, then he never takes birth again in this material world. Śrī Isopanishad points out that one who worships the demigods and attains to their material planets still remains in the darkest region of the universe. The whole universe is covered by the gigantic material elements. It is just like a coconut covered by a shell and half filled with water. Since its covering is airtight, the darkness within the dense, and therefore the sun and the moon are required for illumination. Outside the universe is the vast and unlimited Brahma-jyoti expansion, which is filled with Vaikuntha loks. The biggest and highest planet in the Brahma-jyoti is Kṛṣṇa lok, or Golok Vrindavan, where the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Śrī Kṛṣṇa Himself, resides. Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa never leaves Kṛṣṇa lok. You cannot really ask questions about it because you cannot give any descriptions regarding its size or how much space it covers. We can say it's here or everywhere. At the same time, it's individual. It has individual qualities. There's no space or time for it. So, dear scholars, do not go that path of denial. Kṛṣṇa never leaves Kṛṣṇa lok, although he dwells there with his eternal associates. He is omnipresent throughout the complete material and spiritual cosmic manifestations. This fact has already been explained in Mantra 4. The Lord is present everywhere, just like the sun Yet he is situated in one place, just as the sun is situated in its own undeviating orbit. So he has his own life and we have our own life. The sun has its own life, but we are asambhūti, and he is Sambhūti. The sun depends on its own life, and we depended on the sun. When we reach the moon or some other planet, the problem of life cannot be solved by simply going there or to some other planet or below it. Therefore, Śrī Kṛṣṇa advises us not to be bothered with any destination within this dark material universe, but to try to get out of it and reach the effulgent kingdom of God. There are many pseudo worshippers who become religionists only for the sake of name and fame. Such pseudo-religionists do not wish to get out of this universe and reach the spiritual sky. They only want to maintain the status quo in the material world under the garb of worshipping the Lord. The atheists and impersonalists lead such foolish pseudo-religionists into the darkest regions by preaching the cult of atheism. The atheist directly denies the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the impersonalists support the atheists by stressing the impersonal aspect of the Supreme Lord. Thus far, we have not come across any mantra in Śrī Kṛṣṇa in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead is denied. You see, never listen to the atheists talking about the God. Why do you listen to someone who is not a believer talking about God? Well, first time I heard about the Lord, it was such a person, though, and he was pretty old, and we were kind of friends with him. We've been talking about different topics, just like friends would do. And I've asked something that it was almost illegal back then. I hope no one would know about it. And I said, do you think that God exists? Back then, you would leave, immediately you would be forced to leave the Communist Party, or you'll be you will have to leave this organization and cease to be a Komsomol member. And I was hoping him saying, no, there is no God. And I would trust him immediately because he's old and... but I had some... I was looking for things. I was a beginner in this communist idea. So I was asking these questions about God. Are you a believer or not? And he said, he paused for a moment and stopped doing anything. He started to think, and he said, well, I don't know. And he's a member of the party, of the Communist Party. He's saying he has some doubts. He said, definitely there's something I don't know, but definitely there is something. That's all he could say. He didn't mention any sources of it, but he said, "Don't mention we've been talking about it." So that was the preaching in the Soviet times. Like, there's something beyond. And everyone I was asking, they were saying, there's no God, but there's something beyond. Interesting. If you say something, then it's okay to accept it. But if you call it a God or the God, then no, you need to deny it. If there is someone in control, that it means he's exploiting. If he's in control, then he's just making orders. That's the atheistic understanding. So don't listen to them. It is said that he can run faster than anyone. Those who are running after other planets are certainly persons, and if the Lord can run faster than all of them, how can he be impersonal? The impersonal conception of the Supreme Lord is another form of ignorance arising from an imperfect conception of the Absolute Truth. This is what we call the aspect, but not the object. It's the part of the object. The Absolute Truth is one, but we perceive it through the three stages, and it's at the same time it's the same. Like you see something from a distance. It's on a horizon, some spot, there's something there. This is how you perceive the Brahman. You say, there's something vague, and it brings us forward. And then you see this shape, and now you say, oh, it's a mountain. And then you know there is a name to it. So it's a question of distance. From the distance, from far away, you see it's something, and then you get closer, you know what it is, and when you get on the mountain top, you know more of it. So are there three objects? No, it's the same, but different aspects. The perception was different. Same object, different distance of the perception. The God is one, but there are many religions, and it's just different ways of perception of the same. And it is really hard for the person to understand it. The ignorant pseudo-religionists and the manufacturers of so-called incarnations who directly violate the Vedic injunctions are liable to enter into the darkest region of the universe because they mislead those who follow them. These impersonalists generally pose themselves as incarnations of God to foolish persons who have no knowledge of Vedic wisdom. In such foolish men have any knowledge at all, it is more dangerous in their hands than ignorance itself. Such impersonalists do not even worship the demigods according to the scriptural recommendations. In the scriptures, there are recommendations for worshiping demigods under certain circumstances, but at the same time, these scriptures state that there is normally no need for this. In the Bhagavad-gītā 7:23, it is clearly stated that the result Results derived from worshipping the demigods are not permanent, since the entire material universe is impermanent, whatever is achieved within the darkness of material existence is also impermanent. The question is how to obtain real and permanent life. The Lord states that as soon as one reaches Him by devotional service, which is the one and only way to approach the personality of Godhead, one attains complete freedom from the bondage of birth and death. In other words, the path of salvation from the material clutches, fully dependent on the principles of knowledge and detachment gained from serving the Lord. The side religionists have neither knowledge nor detachment from material affairs, for most of them want to live in the golden shackles of material bondage under the shadow of philanthropic activities, disguised as religious principles. By a false display of religious sentiments, they present a show of devotional service while indulging in all sorts of immoral activities. In this way, they pass as spiritual masters and devotees of God. Such violators of religious principles have no respect of the authoritative acharyas, the holy teachers in the strict disciplic succession. They ignore the Vedic injunctions, Acharya Pasana, one must worship the Acharya, Krishna's statement in Bhagavad-gītā 4.2. Evan Parampara Praptam, this supreme science of God is received through the disciplic succession. It's really interesting why they are accepting these sinful leaders and reject those who are acharyas. I understand that if there are no such persons who are pure and who are serving the Lord, if there are no such saints who get their life in danger in order to serve the Lord, then it's okay. But if there is a parampara, the disciplic succession, every personality is there, has its description and there's biography and his input, his qualities are described. And still we see these people, these powerful people. Why do they accept the authority of sinners? I think this worship is in the mode of passion, because those sinners, they can be situated, they can have this high status of life. But this is just a form, we need to see the essence beyond it. Form is not as valuable as the essence. And nowadays the form is misguiding us. That's why we are all do not have faith or trust. There could be a sinner wearing the dress of the priest. So please don't listen about God from atheists. But what should I do? I've never seen any saints around. You need to wait and do something for it, to learn something before you meet one who is decent. Otherwise, you meet those sages and you will never understand who they are. Actually, everyone knows them in this world. Through the ages, people knew them, and they established religions. But on this basis, we are making our own religion and forgetting those professors and messiahs. That's what's going on. Instead to mislead the people in general, they themselves become so-called acharyas, but they do not even follow the principles of the acharyas. These acharya is living to his word. These rouges are the most dangerous elements in the human society because there is no religious government. They escape punishment by the law of the state. They cannot, however, escape the law of the Supreme, who has clearly declared in the Bhagavad-gītā that envious demons in the garb of religious propagandists shall be thrown into the darkest regions of hell. Bhagavad-gītā 16:90-20. The Isopanishad confirms that these pseudo-religionists are heading toward the most obnoxious place in the universe after the completion of their spiritual master business, which they conduct simply for sense gratification. It's a heavy statement by Srila Prabhupada in this commentary, and this is how he ends it. It's a great topic, and we need to apply this knowledge of Sri Isopanishad to our present day, and we will see that there are a lot of deviations in our life. That's the problem. We are deviating from the Holy Scriptures. We're trying to study it right now in order to get back to this path, to change our life. And we are trying to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the main thing we need to try to have it, the main goal of our life. We need to respect everyone, but serve the God. Only Him. Okay? We've read through this 12th mantra. Do we have any questions? Thank you so much for this class. You said that personality is spreading through love, and is it possible to show some love without showing the lust? If you have the spiritual knowledge, then it's possible. The love is always dreaming in the heart of the living entity, and it's possible to awaken it. And love, we awaken it, the love not to ourselves, and we are not giving our own love to someone. The practice is like we are not doing anything, we are giving Krishna. We are spreading the love of God and towards Him. So we are like mediators. This is the action in action. We're just spreading this holy knowledge, and it's just like enacting action in inaction. So we give the love of God. When you worship the samadhi of the saints, is it the same with the worshiping our relatives or the ones who've been before? No, it's not the same. When you worship the saint, those who are the saint, they are connected with the Lord, so they are not. It's all spiritual. Have we been to the spiritual world? Have we seen Krishna if we were? And if we've seen Him, how can we leave Him? Because He's all attractive. It's impossible. Why is it impossible? Why do you think that something is impossible? You went out, right? It's a fact. So you did. It happened. If we haven't seen Him ever, then who do we copy after? We are copy after the God, right? Everyone does. So there is some connection still. We're still connected. We've been there or not, but we still have this connection. And you need to judge for yourself. Right now, we're already in the material world. And we're here, but at the same time, our soul is trying to go away from it to spiritual world, and the soul is connected to it always. But our consciousness is material right now, and our soul is floating in this flows. It's not connected with body by any means. All it's connected to is super soul and the God. So you need to judge for yourself. Where are we? We are an illusion of this material existence, but we are eternal particles of the Lord. We need to understand it. If demigods want to get their birth right now,